Hello, and welcome to the Comforting Voice podcast. I'm your host, Shasta Ray, and this is a very special episode. This is my first real reading. Oh my goodness. And in case you didn't catch my last episode, I mentioned that I have a favorite particular author that's very meaningful to me from childhood. And it's not that I even knew this author very well or even his other works. It's one book in particular that really touched my heart at a very pivotal point when I was a teenager. And I worked at a particular church camp for a couple of summers, and it was a very uplifting, positive approach to when I was in church, and I was going to a Lutheran church as a kid. But it wasn't a real preachy kind of churchy approach. It was outdoors in the sunshine. We would have campfires. There was a lake where we would go swimming. They had chickens and horses and all kinds of stuff that we would do. And all of the songs we would sing, the stories we would tell, things like that were very positive, fun, and engaging. And I call it affectionately the Mr. Rogers approach. Mr. Rogers was an ordained minister, but most people don't know that. He felt a different approach that touched people in their hearts and their emotions was more important. And I have to agree. It's kind of a lead by example kind of a thing. Anyway, back when I was a teenager, a lot of times the sermon, if you will, around the campfire would be a short story or something that was very touching that had happened in someone's life or something. It wasn't necessarily a religious thing. And long story short, a lot of times we would read absolute favorite stories from this one particular book. And over the years, I've shared these stories with friends around campfires. When I was in high school, I asked that my dad get me a copy of this book for Christmas, which he did. And I no longer have that particular copy. I don't know what happened to it. But I found another copy, and it is identical to the one that my dad got me, down to the cover. And I swear, I don't know what it is about this cover, but it has rips and tears in the same spots that mine did for the most part. So I find that very endearing, and I'm going to be reading from that copy. So, with that said, in today's reading, it is a beautiful story by the author Martin Bell, and it is probably his most famous story called Barrington Bunny. So we're going to have a little bit of a Christmas story in March. And I just want to take a minute to say that while Martin Bell was a minister and his works carry a gentle, uplifting message, and it could include some spiritual or religious references, I want to emphasize that these are intended as a source of comfort and positivity for all the listeners that tune in. His wife was so generous, her name is Carol, in allowing me to read these for free on a public platform like a podcast. And she doesn't even know me, but she really liked the concept of this, and we agreed that in today's world that's just getting more and more chaotic and stressful, everyone needs a little bit of positivity and a little bit of kindness. So, if this will help you ease off to sleep in a pleasing manner, or if it puts a little joy in your heart, or gives you a new perspective, oh my gosh, my work is done here. How wonderful. So, anyway, if you're somebody who may not identify with a particular religious tradition, I really want to invite you to listen with an open heart and an open mind. Find meaning in the universal themes of kindness, love, and hope that are represented in Martin Bell's stories. And I encourage you to interpret the words of Martin Bell through the lens of your own beliefs, or simply as an expression of the positive energy that exists in the world around us that we might not be seeing right away. This podcast is a space for everyone, whether you see these messages through a spiritual, personal, or secular lens. The intention behind sharing these works comes from a place of generosity, and a wish to send you peace and inspiration. I really hope you enjoy and find warmth in these words, these stories, and the upcoming poems and future episodes. Whatever they do for you, one thing I firmly believe is that each and every one of Martin Bell's stories and poems, especially through this book that I'm going to read from today, can absolutely affect everyone in a very different way. It may really resonate with you on a very personal level or on a different level. The message is the same no matter what, but oh my goodness, we're going to have Christmas in March, and although this is a very, very positive and uplifting story, it tends to yank a few of those tears out of you and jerk on those heartstrings a little bit. So don't say you haven't been warned. And so this is an amazing short story no matter what time of year it is. I'm going to have a link down in the show description, in the show notes, and you can go check out Martin Bell's website. His wife is in charge of that nowadays. Her name is Carol. She's wonderful, and she still has some of his CDs and books available for purchase, including The Way of the Wolf. So check that out, and if you would like your own copies, I encourage you, please go through her website first and foremost, and in the event that you run across some of his books that are out of print, you can find those in used book venues sometimes, but I would inquire through her if possible. And while you are still settling in and getting ready for a restful night's sleep, I also want to remind you down in the show notes are all my links for my Linktree and the Patreon and everything. So if you would like to always get ad-free content for free, Patreon is a great place to be. I have a free membership there, and the free membership will always have a little bit of a lag time, but you're going to get ad-free content a little bit after it publishes on regular platforms, but everything will catch up there so you can binge listen without the advertising hitting your eardrums. I'm going to have other premium memberships available as we go, but for now, I want to give a shout out to my 2 first members on Patreon, and that would be a big hello to Tim and a big hello to Julie. Thank you for joining the Patreon. I'm glad you're here, and enjoy. For anyone else that wants to go and explore that, it is Patreon. Do a search for the Comforting Voice podcast. I'll come right up. And I've got different levels. Some of them have bonus content. I'm about ready to start putting those bonus episodes and that extra content on there. I don't have anyone on the upper levels yet, but it will be waiting for you and ready to go when you get there. Okay, here we go. So, are you ready? I'm also putting this podcast out on YouTube right now. If you have found me on YouTube and you're looking for those show notes in the description, it is not, as I am recording this, allowing me to put links down there. I need to go through a verification, and I have not taken the time to do that. I will be getting caught up on adding all of those links on the YouTube as soon as I get that approval in place, and then I'll make it all go retro. And then one more thing I wanted to say that I've done for the structure of this podcast is the episode artwork is going to be in seasons. So it's just kind of boring right now. I have the name of the episode with the season 1 episode whatever displayed and a little bubbly kind of looking cloudish background. So when we hit season 2, then I'll change that up and you'll know how the seasons go. You'll be able to identify them that way. And I'm going to try to have all my platforms so you can find seasons. Some people enjoy that kind of structure. I know it makes it easier for myself, and it'll make it a little bit more fun. So I think I'm also going to do a season as about 50 episodes, roughly. I'm not sure. I've been kind of studying that. My first podcast, I did seasons by the year, and it is still structured that way. A lot of them nowadays are kind of going by if they release episodes every week, once a week, then their seasons might be every 24 episodes or every 48 episodes, something in that direction. Just depends on how often they're releasing episodes. since I'm striving for 2 a week, then 24 would be no time at all. So I'm going to probably do around 50 per season, and it's really not going to be that much time. So 25 weeks. All right, that's podcast news for you today. So I am unsure, because I did not do my homework before I started this particular episode, as to whether or not this book is still in print or not. You can probably look that up easily enough. Again, the author is Martin Bell, and the name of this book is The Way of the Wolf, The Gospel in New Images. And I didn't realize this until recent years, but the original printing of this was back in 1968. I did not learn of this book until the mid-'80s, and I thought it was a new book at that time, but it had been around for quite a while and very popular. So there was a reason why it was floating around and everyone loved it so much into the 80s. But now that we're into the 2020s, 2025, a lot of people have forgotten about this. I would really love to bring the work of Martin Bell into the light again. So this is my effort for that. Again, a big thank you to his wife, Carol, for giving me permission to share this with the world. It's a great honor, and I have decided that on all of my free episodes, in order to make a positive difference in this world and give you all something to fall asleep to that's going to make you relax and feel positive instead of stressed out and tense, this is going to be available on every one of my free platforms, and only on my upper levels of my premium memberships will I be doing public domain content. Is that backwards or what? Anyway, it looks to me like at the time that this particular book was printed, and this one has some age to it. It's in very, very good condition, but it was from the 1970 printing. So it says the 15th printing, copyright 1968, 1969, 1970, and this one is a copy that has some age to it, but yeah, I love it. I love it. And it is a collection of short stories, songs, and poems, the first of which is probably Martin Bell's most famous short story. It's called Barrington Bunny, and if you are interested in a copy of this book for yourself, all you have to remember is Barrington Bunny and add .com to the end of that. Just go to barringtonbunny.com and you can get your own copy right there. Say hello to Carol and say that I sent you, okay? Okay, here we go. Barrington Bunny, a short story by Martin Bell. Once upon a time, in a large forest, there lived a very furry bunny. He had one lop ear, a tiny black nose, and unusually shiny eyes. His name was Barrington. Barrington was not really a very handsome bunny. He was brown and speckled, and his ears didn't stand up right. But he could hop, and he was, as I have said, very furry. In a way, winter is fun for bunnies. After all, it gives them an opportunity to hop in the snow and then turn around to see where they have hopped. So in a way, winter was fun for Barrington. But in another way, winter made Barrington sad. For you see, winter marked the time when all of the animal families got together in their cozy homes to celebrate Christmas. He could hop, and he was very furry. But as far as Barrington knew, he was the only bunny in the forest. When Christmas Eve finally came, Barrington did not feel like going home all by himself. So he decided that he would hop for a while in the clearing in the center of the forest. Hop, hop, hippity hop. Barrington made tracks in the fresh snow. Hop, hop, hippity hop. Then he cocked his head and looked back at the wonderful designs he'd made. Bunnies, he thought to himself, can hop, and they're very warm, too, because of how furry they are. But Barrington didn't really know whether or not this was true of all bunnies, since he'd never met another bunny. When it got too dark to see the tracks he was making, Barrington made up his mind to go home. On his way, however, he passed a large oak tree. High on the branches there was a great deal of excited chattering going on. Barrington looked up. It was a squirrel family. What a marvelous time they seemed to be having. "Hello up there," called Barrington. "Hello down there," came the reply. "Having a Christmas party?" "Oh, yes," answered the squirrels. "It's Christmas Eve. Everybody's having a Christmas party." "May I come up to your party?" said Barrington softly. "Are you a squirrel?" "No." "What are you then?" "A bunny." "A bunny?" "Yeah." "Well, how can you come to the party if you're a bunny? Bunnies can't climb trees." "That's true," said Barrington thoughtfully, "but I can hop, and I'm very furry and warm." "We're sorry," called the squirrels. "We don't know anything about hopping and being furry, but we do know that in order to come to our house, you have to be able to climb trees." "Oh, well," said Barrington. "Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas," chattered the squirrels, and the unfortunate bunny hopped off towards his tiny house. It was beginning to snow when Barrington reached the river. Near the river bank was a wonderfully constructed house of sticks and mud. Inside there was singing. "It's the beavers," thought Barrington. "Maybe they will let me come to their party." So he knocked on the door. "Who's out there?" said a voice. "Barrington Bunny," he replied. There was a long pause. Then a shiny beaver head broke the water. "Hello, Barrington," said the beaver. "May I come to your Christmas party?" asked Barrington. The beaver thought for a while, and he said, "I suppose so. Do you know how to swim?" "No," said Barrington, "but I can hop, and I'm very furry and warm." "Sorry," said the beaver. "I don't know anything about hopping and being furry, but I do know that in order to come to our house, you have to be able to swim." "Oh, well," Barrington muttered, his eyes filling with tears. "I suppose that's true. Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas," called the beaver, and he disappeared beneath the surface of the water. Even being as furry as he was, Barrington was beginning to get cold, and the snow was falling so hard that his tiny bunny eyes could scarcely see what was ahead of him. He was almost home, however, when he heard the exciting squeaking of field mice beneath the ground. "It's a party," thought Barrington, and suddenly he blurted out through his tears, "Hello, field mice! This is Barrington Bunny. May I come to your party?" But the wind was howling so loudly, and Barrington was sobbing so much that no one heard him. And when there was no response at all, Barrington just sat down in the snow and began to cry with all his might. "Bunnies," he thought, "aren't any good to anyone. What good is it to be furry and to be able to hop if you don't have any family on Christmas Eve?" Barrington cried and cried. When he stopped crying, he began to bite on his bunny foot, but he did not move from where he was sitting in the snow. Suddenly, Barrington was aware that he was not alone. He looked up and strained his shiny eyes to see who was there. To his surprise, he saw a great silver wolf. The wolf was so large and strong his eyes flashed fire. He was the most beautiful animal Barrington had ever seen. For a long time the silver wolf didn't say anything at all. He just stood there and he looked at Barrington with those terrible eyes. Then slowly and deliberately the wolf spoke. "Barrington," he asked in his gentle voice, "why are you sitting in the snow?" "Because it's Christmas Eve," said Barrington, "and I don't have any family. And bunnies aren't any good to anyone." "Bunnies are too good," said the wolf. "Bunnies can hop, and they're very warm." "What good is that?" Barrington sniffed. "It is very good indeed," the wolf went on, "because it is a gift that bunnies are given, a free gift with no strings attached, and every gift that is given to anyone is given for a reason. Some day you will see why it is good to hop and be warm and furry." "But it's Christmas," moaned Barrington, "and I'm all alone. I don't have any family at all." "Of course you do," replied the great silver wolf. "All of the animals in the forest are your family." And then the wolf disappeared. He simply wasn't there. Barrington had only blinked his eyes, and when he looked, the wolf was gone. "All of the animals in the forest are my family," thought Barrington. "It's good to be a bunny. Bunnies can hop, and that's a gift. Then he said it again. A gift. A free gift. On into the night Barrington worked. First he found the best stick he could, and that was difficult because of the snow. And then hop, hop, hippity hop to the beaver's house. He left the stick just outside the door with a note on it that read, "Here is a good stick for your house. It is a gift, a free gift, no strings attached. Signed, a member of your family." It is a good thing that I can hop, he thought, because the snow is very deep. Then Barrington dug and dug. Soon he had gathered together enough dead leaves and grass to make the squirrel's nest warmer. Hop, hop, hippity hop, he laid the grass and leaves just under the large oak tree and attached this message: "A gift, a free gift, from a member of your family." It was late when Barrington finally started home, and what made things worse was that he knew a blizzard was coming. Hop, hop, hippity hop. Soon poor Barrington was lost. The wind howled furiously, and it was very, very cold. "It certainly is cold," he said out loud. "It's a good thing I'm so furry. But if I don't find my way home pretty soon, even I might freeze." Squeak! Squeak! And then he saw it. A baby field mouse lost in the snow, and the little mouse was crying. "Hello, little mouse," Barrington called. "Don't cry. I'll be right there." Hippity hop, and Barrington was beside the tiny mouse. "I'm lost," sobbed the little fellow, "and I'll never find my way home, and I know I'm going to freeze." "You won't freeze," said Barrington. "I'm a bunny, and bunnies are very furry and warm. You stay right where you are. I'm going to cover you up." Barrington lay on top of the little mouse and hugged him tight. The tiny fellow felt himself surrounded by warm fur. He cried for a while, but soon, snug and warm, he fell asleep. Barrington had only two thoughts that long, cold night. First he thought, "It's good to be a bunny. Bunnies are very furry and warm." And then, when he felt the heart of the tiny mouse beneath him beating regularly, he thought, "All of the animals in the forest are my family." Next morning, the field mice found their little boy asleep in the snow, warm and snug, beneath the furry carcass of a dead bunny. Their relief and excitement was so great that they didn't even think to question where the bunny had come from. And as for the beavers and the squirrels, they still wonder which member of their family left the little gifts for them that Christmas Eve. After the field mice had left, Barrington's frozen body simply lay in the snow. There was no sound except that of the howling wind, and no one anywhere in the forest noticed the great silver wolf who came to stand beside that brown, lop-eared carcass. But the wolf did come, and he stood there, without moving or saying a word, all Christmas Day until it was night, and then he disappeared into the forest. And that is what I believe is one of the best short stories ever written. I hope that you're sound asleep, and if you're not, I hope that this story has made you realize that you have your own special gifts also, and they are unique just to you. We all have them, and sometimes we just have to realize them. I hope you have enjoyed this short little presentation of the short story Barrington Bunny by Martin Bell from his book The Way of the Wolf, The Gospel in New Images. My favorite since teen years. Oh my gosh. So, like I said, if you would like your own copy, please go to barringtonbunny.com. The link is going to be down in the show description, as well as all of my other links. Have a great night, sleep tight, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.